All right, let's get into meal prepping with Mandy. I'm going to take you through all the steps of meal prepping, and you're going to be surprised because the steps that you think are fundamental, the cooking of the food part, well, I'm going to show you even more important steps that are going to help you set up a successful meal prep session. All right, so let's get into this video. Grab your pen and paper because you're going to need it. Pen, paper. You're going to plan what you intend to eat for a couple of days. Step number 1, decide how many days you are prepping for. Are you going to be prepping for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday? Or are you going to be prepping for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday? That is the first thing that you want to identify. How many days are you prepping for? Step number 2, decide what meals you want to prep. And by that, I mean your breakfast, lunches, and dinners. Decide which of those you want to prep, not the actual meals. We're still getting to that. And then step number 3, this is your most important step, your plotting and your planning. You've decided you're going to prep 3 breakfasts, 3 lunches, and 3 dinners. Now you write down what you intend to eat, what you intend to prep for those meals. Get it? Got it? Good. So I'm going to say, cool, breakfasts times 3 oats, banana. Now I know, that's what I'm going to be having breakfast for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Sorted. I've written it down. Ooh, now what do I want to have for lunch? Okay, now you figure it out. You go, okay. Am I okay with eating the same lunches for 3 days? Yes, you are. Cool. Figure that shit out. Write it down. Okay, now me, I'm going to have chicken and veggies for lunch for 3 days. Write it down. Now we've got breakfast and lunches sorted. Now we're like, put on our thinking caps for a bit. What are you going to have for dinner? Okay, now this could be a little bit tricky because everyone's very different. Maybe you want to come home and have a dinner with your family because that's a special time you get to spend together as a family. So maybe, just maybe, you don't prep your dinners. Now, for example, if you stay alone like me and you can lie on top of the kitchen counter whenever you want to, that's a perk of staying alone. I'm going to be like, okay, cool. What do I want to have for dinner for the next 3 days? Okay, I'm going to have ground beef and veggies and some sort of carbohydrate. What am I going to have? Okay, I'm going to have potatoes with that. Now I write it down. Cool. You've done the groundwork. Now you've figured out what you're wanting to prep for the next couple of days. Step number 4 is going to be just as important as step number 3. Remember, step number 3 was writing down a plan of action. Step number 4 is going to be taking that plan of action from your notepad to your food tracking app. Let me repeat that. Step number 4 is taking your plan of action from your notepad and logging it in your food tracking app. How cute are these dogs? They're not my dogs, they're my nephews. I mean, they're not my nephew's dogs. The dogs are my nephews. I don't know if that made sense. Anyway, we digress. You see, once you have a plan of action when it comes to your meals, when you transfer it to your food tracking app, that's where you'll know exactly how many calories are in those oats, for example, or in that banana, for example. That's how you will know how many calories are in a certain amount of chicken. Okay, now so from there, you'll be able to play around with portion sizes for yourself and you'll be able to see, okay, I can add 150 grams of chicken because it comes to X amount of calories. It fits within your calorie goals for the day. That's why that step is so important, to take it from your notepad and put it on your food tracking app. Now, as much as you would love this little astronaut to do it all for you, because it seems quite tedious, that's not how it works. You are going to have to put the time and effort into logging it into your food tracking app so that you know exactly how many grams of what you're going to be consuming to get your calorie values. Now, before you think, oh, that's way too difficult, it's way too tedious, it's such a life sentence, you don't need to be tracking calories for the rest of your life. But to use it as a starting point really does help with your meal prepping as well as with giving you control and structure. And that's what you need and that's what you want right in the beginning of your expedition. It just helps. It helps, gives you an indication of what you are consuming and you can make calculated tweaks from there onwards. Step number 5, once you have logged everything into either Fat Secret or MyFitnessPal or whatever food tracking app you are using, make a damn shopping list. Okay, because now you go to the shop and then you're just like, oh, let me grab my money, my notepad and my car keys and go to the shop. Oh, that's right, I don't have car keys because I don't have a car. I did bulk shopping this weekend with someone else that had a car, okay? Now you're going to the shop with a plan. You've got your shopping list. You're not going to be wandering around the shop like a lost fart because you know what happens there. Because then you end up in all the different aisles and you're packing all the random things in your trolley. And when you get home, you've got loads of food that you don't necessarily need, that you don't necessarily want, or that maybe that don't align with your goals. Your shopping list is also fundamental, as well as some pesa, some money, some moolah, okay, because you're going to need to pay for the things. We're not, that's how it works. And now you're like, oh, I've been to the shop, fantastic. And you've got everything you need to start your prepping. Tomatoes, cauliflower, and your protein. And the potatoes that I mentioned. So now, as you can see, I've come home with all my ingredients. The ones that were on my shopping list and not 50 million other things that weren't on my shopping list. Because I had a shopping list. Because I put the groundwork in to get to the point where I had a shop. And I fucked my funny bone. I don't know why they call it a funny bone, because when you hit it, it's definitely not funny at all. She says, but she's laughing. That's right. Your next important step is going to be your Tupperware. You're going to need some sort of containers to put your meals in that you have prepped. Like I said, most people think the actual food cooking part is the most important part. But as you can see, it's the lead up to the cooking of the food. How you cook your food doesn't matter. That's on you. A little hack that I have with myself is something like this. Butternut, it's 500 grams for this. Now, because I'm staying alone, I'm only cooking for one person. So admittedly, this is easier for myself to do. Whereas if you're cooking for a lot of different people, you're going to have to go into MyFitnessPal and create a recipe for yourself and then split it into serving sizes. So with the 500 grams of butternut, if I have it over 3 meals, immediately I'll just say 500 grams divided by 3 and I'll know more or less how much butternut I had with every single meal. And the same goes for the green beans. But that's why I said to you, when you're first starting out, rather log it in MyFitnessPal first so that you know, okay, cool, for lunch, you're going to have 100 grams of green beans with 100 grams of butternut and 100 grams of broccoli. Then you know, okay, let's cook it that way. Let's take the chicken, for example. These 3 chicken breasts, 600 grams. So now I know, more or less, each one of these chicken breasts are about 200 grams. So if I've put down 200 grams of chicken as part of my plan in my food tracking app, I know that's about one of these chicken breasts. I wouldn't be like overly pedantic about it, getting exactly 200 grams because I know in total, if I make one packet of chicken breasts, I'm eating 600 grams and per chicken breast, probably around 200 grams. When it comes to something like the potatoes, I'm not going to eat a whole kilogram of potatoes. So what I'll do is I'll weigh the potatoes before the time and I'll be like, oh, what I logged on MyFitnessPal was 100 grams of potatoes. So then I'll actually take out 100 grams of potatoes and I'll cook that. Unless I'm having potatoes with 3 meals, then it's 300 grams of potatoes. Then I'll take out 300 grams of potatoes and I'll cook that. Then I know, boom, I've cooked 300 grams of potatoes. I take my casserole and I add my chicken, don't fall casserole, and I add my chicken breasts to the casserole. Herbs and spices of your choice. Please, let's not overcomplicate this, okay? And then I've got 250 grams of mushrooms that go in there. Wait, I'm coming here. So immediately now I know, cool. In that casserole is 600 grams of chickens and it's 250 grams of mushrooms. And then I'm going to add a sprinkle of olive oil. Add that to your calorie count. A secret little trick when cooking your chicken to make it soft and tender, add some water in the bottom and you're going to let this bad boy cook at 180 degrees Celsius for about an hour and a half to 2 hours even. It's going to fall off the bone when you eat it. How you make your veggies is totally up to you. I'm feeling pretty lazy. I'm just going to throw them in the steamer. Like I said, I got some butternut, broccoli, and cauliflower. It's very important that you note that you can use whatever veggies you want to use. You can spice them however you want to. You can season them however you want to. You can cook them however you want to. If you want to throw them in the casserole with the chicken and make a one-pot meal, do that. Remember, your portion sizes of butternut might vary to my portion sizes of butternut. One thing you're probably going to ask is like, oh, where's the carbohydrates? Obviously, I'm injured at the moment, so there's no training, no exercise taking place. So during this point, I tend to reduce my level of carbohydrates. But keep in mind, this is one thing I want you to remember. All the veggies that I'm eating, they come loaded with carbohydrates as well. So I'm not cutting carbohydrates. There's still a very good level of carbohydrates in the veggies that I am eating. These foods over here, the mince, the tomatoes, the mushrooms, the carrots, the potatoes, and the green beans, that's what I'm going to be making for my dinners, for example. But I'm not going to show you the full way of prepping it because I have made a very short video on how I make my mince. I will link it. You'll see the link up there somewhere. Basic, it's simple. You throw it all in a pan, you put the potatoes in a steamer, and then once they're done, you put them in that same pan, boom, Bob's your uncle. And then once all your food is finished cooking, that's where you separate it into your Tupperware. Now you can go back and look at your MyFitnessPal and you'll be like, oh, okay, this is what I've prepped for lunch. Boom, that's my lunch Tupperware. Or this is what I've prepped for snacks, that's my snack Tupperware. And you separate it like that. But your meal prepping really doesn't have to be overly complicated. As you can see, I like throwing everything in one pot, put some veggies in a steamer, or throwing everything in one pan. And I think the one thing you'll notice is that I put a lot of emphasis on, I know exactly how many grams was in the chicken. I knew how many grams the butternut was. I knew how many grams of potatoes I was going to use. I knew how many grams of absolutely everything that I was going to use. And that comes from plotting and planning. I'm at the point now where I know. Through my fat loss phase, I was very pedantic about logging. Exactly the steps that I explained to you in this video is what I followed. So at the end of the day, your planning and your prepping is going to be fundamental. Your cooking method, that's up to you. You choose what is best for you. Your spices, you choose what is best for you. But that plotting, planning, creating an intentional meal plan for yourself, creating a shopping list for yourself, those are the fundamental steps that you'll need to follow to execute your meal prep like a pro. One thing I did fail to mention is halfway through the cooking process of the chicken, I added some chicken and mushroom condensed soup to the chicken, and then I cooked it even more. So now what you'll see over here is the chicken and the mushroom with a condensed soup, which makes a really nice sauce. And there's your vegetables. For the broccoli and cauliflower, you can so easily make a white sauce to go with that, or you can add some of the sauce that comes out of your chicken. Chicken is falling apart, which is amazing. It's the way I love it. Put a bit of the mushrooms over your chicken, and then you've got your protein prepped for your lunches as well. Before the seasoning police come out, you can season your veggies with whatever you want to. I did it, I just skipped that step. For some unknown reason, it's going to look like I didn't season my veggies, and I know people get very angry when they see you don't season your veggies, even though maybe you don't like seasoning. Why didn't you season your veggies? These ingredients over here is pretty much what I'm going to be making for dinner. Now I'm going to show you a little hack on MyFitnessPal. If you're using any other calorie tracking app, you can pretty much do the same. Just go on YouTube, but there will be tutorials out there. Log on to MyFitnessPal, and this is where you're going to create a recipe. So instead of breaking everything down individually, you're going to put all of that food that you're going to cook into one recipe and then separate it into portion sizes, and then it gives you the calories per portion size. So if you're cooking for your family, for example, or if you're cooking for 4 people and you use, say, 900 grams of mince, you go to My Meals, Recipes and Foods. And that's where you create your own recipe. You click on Create Recipe. Now you can either add from the web or you can enter your ingredients manually. So we go enter ingredients manually. You give your recipe a title, Mandy's Staple Mince Dinner, and then you actively start logging the ingredients. I'm going to link someone else's video in the caption section below. She explains it into detail how to create a recipe in MyFitnessPal. But like I said, there's loads of tutorial videos all over for you to use. And that is a major hack, because then when you bulk cooking, you can create your regular recipes, log them on MyFitnessPal, and then every time you use that recipe, you just log a serving size of it. The more you play around with meal plans for yourself, the more you play around with logging on your food tracking apps, the more you play around with actually prepping those meals in advance and separating them, the easier it becomes. Actually, no, wait, it doesn't become easier. You become so much better at it, but you just have to put the groundwork in. When I started meal prepping, I had no idea what I was doing. Now I can do it with my eyes closed. I can literally just throw everything in. I know more or less what I'm cooking. I know more or less how many calories are in it, and boom, I get it sorted. But that's only because I put the hard work in during my initial fat loss phase. As per usual, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I know that your time is exceptionally valuable. So for you choosing to take the time to watch this video, it really, really, really means a lot to me. Thank you so much.